What's up, everybody? Josh the Coach. I've taken a little bit of a hiatus recently because every time the Browns play, it's the same story, and I don't feel like everybody wants to just hear me repeat myself all the time. But typically what happens is the Browns do enough on offense to win the game, and then the defense does more than enough to lose the game, and the Browns end up losing the game. So because that is what typically happens over and over and over again, and people don't typically want to hear the same thing over and over again, I've taken a little bit of a step back. But I feel drawn now to explain some things to some people who apparently just don't have, standard football logic IQ, okay? And these people are the people that think that Kevin Stefanski is the problem. So yes, I am telling you that if you think that Kevin Stefanski is the problem, then you do not have a high football IQ. Yes, I am saying that. And I know that nothing I say is going to make you change your mind because you're probably just a very emotional person. You're upset that the Browns are where they are record-wise. You need somebody to blame. And through the course of going on 3 decades, the only people that we have blamed in our organization have been quarterbacks and head coaches. Everybody knows, for the most part, that Jacoby Brissett is a stopgap quarterback, so they're not going to throw the blame there, and Stefanski gets 99% of the blame. Even though, and here's some of the things, I'm going to go into some of the reasons why that is so stupid to blame Kevin Stefanski, but let's backtrack. Okay, so everything that almost unanimously what the gripe is about Kevin Stefanski is that he doesn't run the ball when you think that he should run the ball. Even though he's way more qualified, way more experienced of a play caller than you are, you think that you know better and that he should just run the ball anytime really that there's a short to go important play call, basically. Just give the ball to Nick Chubb. Which, listen, I understand. He's a very good player, but there are other things that go into deciding what play to call, okay? And first and foremost, before I get into the reasons why running the ball when you think it's time to run the ball isn't always the best time to run the ball, before I get into that, I want to talk to you a little bit about what Kevin Stefanski said in his introductory press conference when he got the job as the Cleveland Browns head coach. He said he was going to be calling the plays, which some people think that he's the head coach and he shouldn't be the offensive coordinator, or he should be the offensive coordinator if he wants to call the plays and just be a head coach if he wants to be a head coach. Since when? Like, head coaches call the plays all the time. Like, lots of times in the NFL, even more so in college and even more so in high school, people who are the head coach are the offensive play callers. Since when is that a bad thing? Like, that's now, if there was instances throughout the season where, clock management was an issue or the game flow kind of got out of hand or something along those lines, then I can understand that. But even the people who don't like Stefanski, I haven't heard any game management or clock management issues. The only issue I hear is play calling, all right? So play calling in those situational instances where you think that you should run the ball, okay? All right, so back to that. Okay, what he said in his introductory press conference was that he was going to call the plays and that his offense was a marriage between the run and the pass. That ideally, throughout the course of a game, you would run the ball 50% of the time, you would throw the ball 50% of the time, and when you ran the ball, lots of times it would look like a pass, and when you passed the ball, lots of times it would look like a run to keep the defense off guard or on their toes and catch them off guard. Okay, that's what he said coming in, and that is exactly what he's doing, all right? Now, what this offense does is it might not be able to appease the people who want to run the ball 80% of the time because you have a monster in Nick Chubb. I get that. But what it does do is it makes you a top-tier offense in the NFL, and that is a statistical fact. It's not my opinion, okay? They are second in rushing, I believe, right now, 7th in points scored, 3rd in total yards. Even with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, they're 15th in passing, which is middle of the road, which who would have thought that going into the season with Jacoby Brissett being the quarterback, right? So when you have this offense, it may not be able to appease you as far as running the ball all the time when you think you should run the ball, but what it does do is it scores more points than almost every team in the NFL. okay? And if you have an offense that is going to score more points than almost any team in the NFL, and you are still losing games, then the fault of that is your defense, not your offense. And Kevin Stefanski is way more involved in the offense than he is in the defense. So if you have a gripe against Stefanski, it may be that he is allowing Joe Woods to maintain the defense and call the defensive plays. I can understand that, but that's not what people are complaining about. People are complaining about him not running the ball when you think that he should run the ball. So let's get into that. All right. You have Nick Chubb. So I understand he's a beast. He's a monster. Give him the ball. It sounds great. But you have to understand that there's more to play calling than just, hey, we have a monster at running back, give him the play. You're giving him the ball, right? Now, in certain instances, you are going to give him the ball. You know, you're probably going to give him the ball more often than you're not. But you have an entire game's worth, especially when you get into the fourth quarter in these times where Stefanski seems to be coming under fire more often. You have an entire game's worth of data to go through. And there's people up in the booth going through all this data. There's people going through replays of plays that you've called before. So, for instance, you run a pass play with Jacoby Brissett. You throw, a 5-yard out on the right side of the field to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Well, you go back and you start, people, just because that play is over and done with doesn't mean it's over and done with within the Browns organization or the Browns coaching staff. At that point, people up in the booth and people in the box are going over that play over and over again, seeing if there's any other matchups that you can exploit later on. So they may see that, okay, that worked. We got a nice little gain with Donovan Peoples-Jones, but Amari Cooper at the second level, at the second tier, was open on that one. And since we just hit Donovan Peoples-Jones underneath, chances are that safety, if we get that same look defensively, is going to jump that route, and Amari Cooper is going to be wide open, 15 yards down the field rather than 5 yards down the field. So we need to circle back around and get to that play again. That's going to be a really good play for us. And that's what you start talking about. You start doing that at halftime. You start getting these matchup plays that you think that you have because of what you've seen previously. And you put those in your back pocket, and you're like, okay, if we need a play, if we need to start moving the ball, this is the play that I'm going to go to, because it shows that we are in an advantageous position to run this play, rather than just saying, hey, we got Nick Chubb, let's hand the ball off to him, right? You're going to use your coaching, your smarts, your analytics, your documented film to make a decision, rather than just saying, hey, man, we got a really good running back, especially because all of the fans, the defensive players, the defensive coaching staff may be in the same thinking as you. Man, they're going to get down to 3rd and 1. They got Nick Chubb. Chances are they're going to give it to Nick Chubb. So I'm going to take my middle linebacker and my safety. I'm going to say, hey, you go wherever Nick Chubb goes. All right, well, now Nick Chubb's not going to be as effective as he was throughout the course of the game when he's getting 5.9 yards per carry, right? Because he's going to have 2 people keying on him. It's a short down, a short yard to go situation anyway, so you're already probably going to be running into a heavy run defense. So a pass play strategically is way more advantageous, especially if you have something in your back pocket that you feel good about that you should be able to pull off. Now, executing that play is completely different than is more important, I should say, than the play call, right? So I can call the best play in the world, but if you don't execute it, it looks like a bad play call, the whole 9 yards. And the same thing with Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, listen, we could be in a 11-man box, and all three of the linebackers, middle linebackers, Sam and Will, are all keyed on Nick Chubb. If I hand the ball off to him, it's a horrible play call, but if you execute it right and he gets in, then it's a great play call. So execution is what makes a play call better, right? Simply speaking, when we get into these late game situations, our execution hasn't been as good. That's all it is. You can't say that he is a bad play caller when you've never called plays in your entire life. You have no idea what you're talking about. All you're saying is, wow, we have Nick Chubb and we didn't give it to him. That's just like the surface of what's going on. You have to be smarter than that. You really do. Well, hopefully maybe somebody somewhere hears this and says, you know what, maybe there is more than this surface tension that I feel like. I don't know. I'm rambling now. I love you guys. Go Browns. Just be smarter. Stefanski is an asset to our organization, whether you like it or not. He's putting forth an offense that we haven't seen in 3 decades. Our offense used to be 32nd, 31st, 30th. Now it's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Like, it's a great offense. Take what you can get. Don't blame him. Bye.